Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Sarika Makol, Associate Professor in Saga Group of Institutions, MBA, Bhopal. Today, we are going to discuss about effective communication in the subject Communication Skills in MBA first semester. Here we go. First of all, before going further, we'll know about the meaning of effective communication. So it means that it produces the desired impact on the listener as well as on the speaker point of view. And we call it as effective communication only when it depends upon the skills of sender as well as the receiver. And any communication can only become effective when it has three things in it. What are there? That is clarity, completeness and proper feedback. The message which you are sending to the other person should be clear in all the senses. It should be clear to the speaker as well as to the listener. Completeness should be there in the message. It should be complete in all the senses. The information should be complete. It should not be incomplete. It means that it should not contain too much information as well as too little information. The information should be appropriate in the message. Only then we can say that there is completeness in the communication. And last but not the least is the proper feedback. If the listener is not able to give you the proper feedback, so it means the communication is not complete, it is incomplete, or it is not an effective communication. So there should be a proper feedback from the point of the listener. Now, effective communication takes place only when the message is properly understood by the listener, the purpose of the sender is served, there should be a proper feedback which can serve as a powerful link between the sender as well as the receiver. And we can say that in the communication process, the role of receiver is much more important than sender. Why is it so? I can explain you with these 5 steps. As you know that receiver receives the message. He would decode the message, he'll try to understand the message, accept it, then use it and tries to give the feedback. So it means the last step, which is known as feedback, is very important, and feedback is always at the end of receiver. So that is why we can say that the role of receiver is much more important than sender. Though the role of receiver as well as sender is important, but at this point we can say that role of receiver is more important as the feedback part lies in the hands of receiver. Now this is the definition of effective communication. Effective communication is the process by which information is transmitted between individuals and organizations with the purpose to inform, request or persuade and to build goodwill. It is clear, complete, correct and saves the reader's time and helps in achieving its goals. Now what does this definition mean? We say that effective communication is a process, it's a never-ending process, or we can say it's a dynamic process by which we can transfer the information between individuals also, between organizations, firms, all that we can just communicate with the purpose. And what is the objective of that communication? Is to inform them. We can request something, we can persuade them, we can motivate them, and with the help of proper communication and effective communication, we can build the goodwill also. And the main things which we should keep in mind while we are having a communication with the other person, that it should be clear, it should be complete, it should correct in all the senses. Correct means that there should not be any kind of punctuation mistakes, and it should be like that, it should save the reader's time and also helps in achieving its goals. So we can say that communication is only effective if it has all these things present in the different color. Then these are the various guidelines, essentials, principles to be followed by us for making our communication effective. Or how can we make our communication effective? So these are the points which says that how can we make our communication or a simple communication, convert it to an effective communication. The first point is clarity of purpose. So the first and the foremost thing or the first guideline for having an effective communication is that the purpose of communication should be clear in the mind of the sender as well as receiver. If the purpose is not clear within the minds of the sender, so he would never be able to give a effective communication, or he would never be so much effective to the listener. So the purpose of giving any information, giving any message, instructions, orders should be clear first of all into the minds of sender. Then the second essential thing which one should keep in mind is its target audience. Here target audience means that in front of whom you are giving your lecture or to whom you are conveying your message, you should know your target audience, that what is the level of your audience, what kind of language they could understand, whether they could be able to understand your communication in English or in Hindi, or whether you can use a simple language into that, or you can use high vocabulary into that. So you must know about your target audience, only then you would be an effective speaker. Shared activity, as you all know that communication is a shared activity in which you are sharing your views, thoughts, ideas with the other person. So your communication should be humble, it should be very polite to the other person. Fourth is we should focus the needs of the receiver. What the receiver wants us to tell and what are the needs of the receiver. Like for example, if we are giving a lecture or if we are communicating with the 12-year students, 12 pass out students, then we have to just look forward the needs of them, that whatever we are communicating should fulfill the purpose of the 12th grade students. Then the message which you are giving to the other person should not be ambiguous. Ambiguous here means that should not contain any kind of double meaning words. Right? Double meaning words means that there should not be any kind of vagueness in your message. There should not be a vague message into that. Right? Next point says feedback. Now, feedback here means what? That you should give a proper feedback, like I have just already told you about the feedback point, that until and unless you will give the proper feedback to the audience, to the sender, then the communication would never be complete, right? The next thing is active listening. The listener should do active listening for no reason, that he should not be like that he is not doing active listening. Until and unless you listen the speaker carefully, you would not be able to understand the message given by the speaker. So that could be treated as a barrier at the end of the receiver, at the end of the listener. Controlling emotions here means that the sender who is sending the message should control his or her emotions. Why? Because if he is emotional, or if he is not well, or if he is having certain disturbance in his or her mind, so he would not be able to convey the message properly. Similarly, at the end of receiver also, if he is mentally disturbed, or if he is not well, or if he is not able to concentrate properly on the conversation, then he would not be able to understand it, react it properly, and give the proper feedback. Politeness. Now the next thing which makes your communication effective is be polite, be courteous while you are communicating your message to the other person, because courteousness makes your message more effective. Then obviously proper use of body language should be there, your appearance, your personality, then your gestures, your head gestures, your body gestures, the way you move, the way you talk should be very much proper. Then time management should also be there for making your communication effective. If the time is given by the management 10 minutes or whatever, so you have to finish your presentation or the lecture within that time period, because after that time maybe the audience got bored and they will not have any much interest in your conversation. Then you have to be very careful while choosing your channel of communication or mode of communication, that you should be very careful while choosing your mode of communication. You should use the proper mode of communication, only then your communication could be effective. Like for example, if you want to send message immediately to the other person. So the proper mode of channel should be like which sends your or by which the receiver could receive your message in a short span of time. And the shortest way of sending the message nowadays is WhatsApp or message or through call. You can have a conversation telephonically with the other person and give him the message. So these are the various guidelines, essentials and principles for effective communication. Now, what is the importance of effective or business communication? Why is it so important? What is the significance of business communication? With the help of proper or effective communication, one can run his business smoothly. There can be a smooth working of a business because everything is properly coordinated. Everything is crystal and clear because everybody knows their own roles and responsibilities in the organization if there is no such kind of miscommunication. It is also the basis of managerial functions like planning, organizing, directing, leadership, motivation, coordination, and control. For all these functions, we need a proper and effective communication. Until and unless we'll have proper communication, we cannot plan the things, we cannot organize the things properly, even we cannot direct or giving the directions can be possible to the employees. We cannot do leadership, we cannot motivate our employees, and we cannot coordinate or control any kind of a work if there is lack of communication between employees and employer. So there should be a proper communication and effective communication between superiors and subordinates. The maximum production and minimum cost is the main and objective of each and every kind of organization. So if everything is crystal clear in the minds of the employees as well as the employer, so they can have maximum production at minimum cost. They can minimize their cost at any level. If you have effective communication and if you cannot have any kind of gap between you and your employer, so you can take prompt decisions as well as their implementation can be done promptly. With the help of effective communication, one can build good human relationships. Like for example, in our organizations also nowadays, there is a post of public relation officer. What is the profile of this particular person is to maintain good relationships with the customers, with the other employees or with the employees of other organizations so that they can work in a global environment. If we have proper communication with our employees, so we can know that whether they are satisfied with their job or not, or is there any kind of requirement they want or any kind of improvement they want in the satisfaction of the job. So job satisfaction can only be done if we have effective communication between employer and employee. And obviously, if there is no misunderstandings between all the parties, between sender and receivers, so there could not be any kind of illusions, there could not be any kind of misunderstandings, and it always improves the customer relations. If we take care of our customers, if we do listen to our customers carefully, we'll do take their suggestions and will communicate properly with them time and again, so that will definitely improve the customer relations and that would benefit us in our business also, and we can just run our business in a proper way. So these are the various just the introduction of the effective communication, which includes guidelines as well as importance of communication. I